Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Thought I'd talk about a couple camp knives I have. The first one here is, if you see there, it's got the Windsor shield on there. This is a Richards lighthouse camp knife made in Sheffield, England. And it's kind of cool. What I really liked about it when I first got it, besides the shield, which if you notice, the shield looks like it's just glued on there. This is the thing about a lot of the Richards knives is they're pretty inexpensive. I could probably pop off the shield, and I have thought about doing that, but I'm worried about what might be underneath of it. Matter of fact, spur of the moment. There's the shield. If you can see it there, Windsor. It's a pretty cool looking shield, but I tell you what, as I was doing the video, I thought, well, if it's all messed up underneath the shield, I'll just glue the shield back on, because that's all they did was glue it on there. But I pried off the shield, and there you have it. It looks about the same as the rest of the knife, and now the imitation stag on this looks even better because it is not marred by the shield that was on there. Maybe I'll stick that shield on some other knife that deserves a better shield than what it has. But in any case, the shield or the stag here, or the imitation stag here, looks pretty good. I really like the way it looked in the eBay listing for it, and that's why I picked it up. And I picked this up probably about 5 or 10 years ago. It's been a while, and now all I do is regret not popping off that shield a little sooner, because, man, talk about nice looking imitation stag. And this is, I believe, Delrin or some other kind of thermoplastic that has been jigged to look like stag, like Staglon or Durastag and several other names. I don't know what Richards called theirs, but I tell you what, they did a really good job with this. It looks like a much more expensive knife than it really is, simply because of the covers on it. Got a nice clevis here. It's permanently attached, but you notice it's all steel construction otherwise, other than the brass pins. And the blades could use a little cleaning up and stuff, but the blade choices on this are pretty interesting too. Now, the front layer tools are your typical tools. So you've got your cap lifter screwdriver. This is the short version. And then you have the can opener over here, the typical safety can opener. And if you notice, it's back on the back side here by the clevis, which is the way the earlier models would do it. Later on, the can opener moves to the front side over here. So I suspect that this was probably made in the early to mid 1960s. Might have been a little later, but that's when I think it really came out. But the cool thing is this knife also has a clip blade versus a spear blade. Now, typically I do prefer a spear blade on a camp knife, but the fact that you can occasionally get one that is a clip blade kind of sets it off a bit. So it's kind of cool from a collector's point of view to get one with a clip blade. And you notice it's got a nice long pull going there, something that is supposed to be a sign of quality. And if you notice also, there is an ever so slight bit of a swedge going on with the top of the clip blade here. Not dramatic, but there is actually some swedge working going on there, and you got the nice grind going there. And the blade has been sharpened and used, and it's a pretty decent knife, really, all things considered. Notice blade has just ever so slight bit of blade wobble, but then you're also talking about a knife that is over 50 years old. The other cool thing on it, though, is right here you have a fish scaler with the hook remover going on there, and again a long pull on there too. So it is a pretty cool looking knife, and the covers on it, though, the imitation stag covers on it, really just set it off when I saw it. And so even though I knew You know, Richards lighthouse knives out of Sheffield, England, are really an economy knife, and this steel is probably like a, at best 440, more likely 420. I just had to go ahead and grab it because it was a really cool looking knife. And that brings us to the next knife. But first, the U.S. Military knife, the utility knife, the demo knife, whatever you want to call it. Um, as you can see, this is a knife that I collect quite a few of, and I've never seen one quite like this. This is the a Sheffield utility knife. You notice it's clearly stamped Sheffield. Now I knew right away that this Sheffield knife is not a knife that is actually made in Sheffield, England. And matter of fact, the in the eBay listing, they actually showed the tank stamp so that you would know that this knife was actually made stainless China. So this is a knife out of China, made by the Sheffield company. Now, Sheffield is actually a trademark used by the Great Neck Saw Manufacturing Company out of New York, and they've had the Sheffield trademark for pocket knives and such since 2016, and I was aware of that, so this was no surprise to me that this knife was going to be coming out of China. But quite frankly, I have never seen a utility knife like this. You know, it's obviously patterned after the U.S. military demo knife, the which is the Camillus number for it was the S1760, but it's also the MIL-K818 in the U.S. military nomenclature. But as you can also tell right away, no clevis on this knife. So right away there's a difference to it. There's absolutely no clevis. But otherwise there are things about this knife that are very similar to this. But one thing that makes it very much different besides the lack of clevis, and that is it's got a big old pocket clip on the back side of it. I have never seen a demo knife with a pocket clip. And so when I saw this on eBay, it's like, man, I got to put in a video. I mean, I got to put in a bid on that knife and try and win it. And fortunately, no one else was really interested in buying it. Maybe because it's got a pocket clip, or maybe because the seller did not have a whole lot of sells so far. He was down in that 200 range instead of the 2 or 3,000 range that a lot of people want to see before they're even interested in bidding on it. But he had 100% positive rating, so I'm more than willing to take a shot at a person with very few cells that has 100% rating going for him. Something a lot of other people should consider. But you see there, clearly stamped Sheffield trademark, and the pocket clip on the backside. And the knife itself is not really that poorly made. It's actually pretty good, especially considering I paid $5 for it and about $5 to ship it. So I got this knife for about $10. And I bet that's about what it went for originally when it was sold. Might even been less than that. But you see, it's all stainless steel construction. You can feel the ridges going across here, as opposed to here where it's a much smoother cut on it. This is one from 1967. This one feels a little bit better made, and it is definitely better made. And you can also see it is a slimmer build because the tools on this Sheffield knife are not nearly as wide as what you're seeing on the Camillus version of it. So if we open up the can opener, you see it is stamped can opener. But if you look at this can opener, you see a difference. You see where this one has been cut in so that you actually have a much better cutting area for the can. This one is pretty much just flat, and it's obviously much thinner. But it'll cut open a can, I'm pretty sure of. And then this one has the newer version. I'm sorry, this has the older version screwdriver cap lifter on it. Notice the thumb stud there. But this one here has a newer version. Really need to clean it out. And again, much thinner build. But the mouth for the cap lifter is such that it will open a can pretty well. Let me go grab the marbles real quick and we'll compare this mouth to the marbles can opener, their marbles GI knife. So here's the marbles GI knife, and notice how that cap lifter acts. This one is very hard to work. It doesn't open the bottle nearly as easily as the one on this Sheffield knife. And also you notice how this is bent in all sorts of different ways, causing it to be a much wider build of a knife. Also the blade stock on the marbles is thicker, but notice how much larger the marbles is. Blade wise though, thin blade, pretty nice and slicey. It has been used. I'm going to have to touch it up and such. I really just got this and I haven't done anything. I haven't even cleaned it yet, but it's working pretty well. See the blade, it's a much slimmer blade. Doesn't have nearly the belly that the Camillus had. And let's see it compared to the marbles while we're at it. Also slimmer than what you see on the marbles. And definitely thinner than on either of these two knives. But still, it's a decent enough blade and it will cut. And then you also have a punch. Really need to oil this thing down a bit, which is nice and sharp and pointy. Very pointy. Probably more pointy than it needs to be. But I think it's a more substantial reamer than what you have on the marbles. The marbles has no point at all, and it's just kind of a little bit of a curve here with the cutting edge there. This one has a better cutting edge, and because of the bend in it and everything, it is fairly strong and fairly light. But the cool thing about it is right there, it's got a pocket clip. Now, I'm not a big fan of pocket clips, but the fact that I found a demo knife that had a pocket clip on it, that was pretty cool. I mean, I know a lot of people who are not fans of clevises, so they'll just go ahead and pop it off, and you'd have to break it off of these because these are permanently attached. And the same is true with this one. You know, the pocket clip is permanently attached to the knife. And I was thinking that would be a little bit of a problem, but before we get to that, let's see how it would ride in a pocket if you were to actually clip it into it. So here we have a case cleaning cloth, relatively thick, and it's got a nice rib across the top there, and there we go. I mean, that's how much would display in your pocket if you were to put it into a pocket, and you got a pretty big clip there. I guess it would hold it pretty well. Obviously, you're going to have plenty of exposed knives, so it's going to also be easy to pull out. But if you're looking for something with a deep carry, this is not going to be it. You could also hook that onto a belt, I'm assuming, with no problem. And if you had the belt thin enough, the clip would be on both sides of it, you know, which might be good too. Let's see about a belt. Okay, if you've been in the U.S. military, you're probably aware of this kind of belt. It's just that heavy kind of a webbing belt that you use to hold up your trousers, and slides right over it. So it's, you know, got a little room to play with in there actually. So a wider, probably up to 1.5 to 2 inch leather belt, it would work on pretty well too. And you got that against your side, and it'd probably be pretty good. So if you wanted to just hook it onto a belt, it'd probably work pretty well. Or if you're using it to hook it into Molly or something like that, you can do it that way too. So I think the clip would come in handy for a lot of people. And the blade options, well, it's your typical camp knife. And at least for this one, the one I have, all the blades are actually tight. Well, can opener's a little loose, not much. What about the cap lifter? Cap lifter is good, and the wobble in that can opener is barely noticeable, really. That is tight as can be. All right, the main blade is working off the same as the can opener. Let's see if it's loose. Nope, main blade is really tight. So I have no idea when this knife was made. I'm assuming it's been around for a while. I know Sheffield, the trademark, has been used by Great Neck Saw Manufacturing since at least 2016. So it's probably used even before then. Like I said, though, made in China, but it's still a pretty cool knife. I guess it's a little bit of an insult to all of the Sheffield knife makers out there, especially the ones in Sheffield, England, that some company is branding Sheffield as a trademark to make inexpensive knives in China, but so it goes. That's what happens. But all in all, I'm kind of impressed with this thing, and it's like, who would have, who else has really ever seen a pocket clip on a camp knife? That's why I picked it up, because there's a pocket clip on a demo knife, a U.S. military style or a military style utility knife with a pocket clip. I just was not expecting that. In any cases, there you have it. My Richards, which definitely looks a whole lot better and is actually a knife made in Sheffield, England, and you can feel it as a better quality knife. And then a Sheffield trademark knife made by Great Neck Saw Manufacturing in China, but clearly stamped Sheffield. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pious. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.